I am Rob from this channel at Boston Rob. And if you're watching, I would appreciate it if you subscribe, hit the like, leave a comment, even if you don't like us,
Yeah.
especially if you don't like us. Leave the critique of what you would like this to be. I'm joined
Yeah.
by Brendan. I like how, yeah, it's weird because if I had that background, that little couch background, it would look like we were sitting in the same room. We should set that up at some point where it looks like we're sitting next to each other. And then, oh, look, we could do this. Try doing this.
Found it.
Oh, oh no,
Is
we
that what you're
froze.
doing?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh, I
that's
see.
cool. A
Closer.
virtual fist bump. Bim,
Boom,
bim, bim,
boom.
bim. Wait, we got to make our fists the same size. Well, actually, I could look like I have a giant. Look at my hands. All right. And that is Brendan from Ample Thought,
Yes.
at Ample Thought. So go subscribe to him. I've pushed him to the brink and he's finally making content again after. How long did you take a break for? How
Oh my
long did you
God. I
cease?
I started doing stuff in the beginning of the pandemic and like just didn't do anything really before that, but once, maybe twice a year. And now I'm trying to get it out sooner than I have been doing it, but like once every 2 weeks is where I'm at right now. So
If that's your consistent thing, so you heard him once every 2 weeks. Go subscribe for some content for a nice little surprise once every 2 weeks. Here you will get us live essentially every Thursday. And then I'm gonna start trying to go live almost every day once I can figure out if my phone can handle it. And let's start this off. So I want to start this off by doing something new, hitting some headlines, some stuff that you're not going to see in the local nightly news, and it drives me absolutely bananas. So just hang tight while I rattle through these. Again, these are the headlines that should be. I'll figure up a better title, and I'm sure Brendan is really good at writing, so he could help me. I might just call you Ample Thought at some point. So that really hits home the subscriber thing. I was
I'm
looking
like
at
Tim Apple. Tim
Tim
Apple.
Apple, Brendan Ample Thought. Uh, well, because you go through your YouTube stats, right? And they'll
Yeah.
show you like subscribers to people that subscribe and watch your videos to people who are unsubscribed. And I think I'm at like 99.9% unsubscribed, which is absolutely infuriating.
Let me pretend like I'm cool. Hold on. No, I don't look at the analytics. I mean, like, whatever. I don't care. I have people who do that for me. I
Right.
don't know. I don't obsess about it at all,
Yeah.
actually. So that's good.
When I'm looking at my analytics, I look like a teenager on TikTok. I'm like, oh, refresh, 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 refresh. Psychotic. All right, here's some nightly headlines. 13 million kids are food insecure in America every night. Do you know what that means? That right now, 1 in 5 kids, right now in America, don't know where their next meal is coming from. Price for goods have hit a 50-year high in 2022. And corporate profits are also hitting a 50-year high. Meanwhile, and we talked about this here on the live stream, prices 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And for those of you who do not understand that, I can't imagine who doesn't, but let's just break it down to what that truly means. That means you cannot cover a bill until your next paycheck. That's the easiest way to describe it. I live that. So essentially, I get paid on Fridays. I have no money right now. Tomorrow, I get paid. I go to the store. I buy one bag of groceries, put about $10 in the gas tank, and I wait 6 more days to do that again. And 61% of our neighbors in America are doing that. This one I was just reading about more of today. The American housing crisis is still raging. A report shows that renting. I rent. Do you rent?
No.
Okay. So for renters, it is now unaffordable at a record rate. Half of the U.S. It's unaffordable for you to rent. You're still renting, but it's unaffordable. And just so everyone's aware, thinking like, oh, maybe we don't have enough homes. Maybe that's how the headline has been spun in your neck of the woods. Uh, there are 28 empty homes. 28 empty homes for every one person experiencing houselessness or however we want to call it. 28 homes for every one person. So this is effed. I'm trying not to swear. That's the other thing I'm trying to curb myself on doing.
Good for you.
And when I testified at the state house, which I did a while back, trying to help being a part of this initiative to push up the minimum wage, I talked about what that breaks down to. A lot of people will say, somebody said this to me last week, 15 is too much for that job. Like you're already overpaid. And when you understand what that is, right? So 15, you're not taking that home. You don't just get that an hour. What you're taking home is
Right.
much less. And if we break that down, and just pretend. Let's just pretend there are no taxes. There is no healthcare, and you can take that $15 an hour home with no taxes taken out. You're making 28 k a year. It's 28,800 a year at $15 an hour, which is the minimum wage here in Massachusetts. What's the minimum where you're at? Do you know? I hope it's
Seven
nothing
tw-
federal.
I think it's 735 or 750 maybe.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So, well, listen, there's a lot of states where the federal minimum wage, which hasn't moved since 2009, is still the minimum wage. So essentially what you could do to figure out if it's 725, you just cut these numbers in half. So where I am, 15 minimum wage, 15 a year without taxes taken out, it's 28K. If you're looking at spending a third of your salary on rent, which is what they, I don't know who they is, but I'm assuming it's just rich people. They made this up to make us poors know what numbers to live by. But if you're going to do that, one third of your rent, one third of your salary on rent, which is whatever the standard had been created by. And this is the other thing. When I was breaking down these numbers, I started thinking, how soon until they change that? Till they say, oh, half of your salary should be on rent, and they
Right.
just try to normalize it without, saying
Because it
anything.
wasn't always that way. It wasn't that way in the 60s for sure. It wasn't that way in the 80s for sure. It wasn't like that even in the early 2000s. So, yeah, I think it went from a fifth to a fourth to a third. And now there'll be some
Half.
variant. Yeah, four ninths of it needs to go to that. Anyway, by the way, it's 725 an hour.
It is.
Yep.
So that's the federal minimum. Just so you're aware, in a state where you are, it's 725. That's just the federal minimum wage. Um, so your rent would be 800 a month. Again, no taxes taken out. Where you are, it would be 400 a month. And where I am, the median rent for a one bedroom apartment in Massachusetts is, do you want to guess?
Say it one more time.
What's the median rent? So the average rent for a one bedroom apartment in Massachusetts. Guess what you think it is.
I'm gonna say 1250.
Is that your final answer? Do you want to
Uh,
phone a friend?
I mean, I could say 1400 to make it a little bit higher than what I thought.
Okay. You're about 1,000 off. It's 24.95. $2,495.
Oh my god. Oh
You
my
wonder how
god.
you wonder how people are struggling out here. It's getting hard. So again, just so we can recap, if you're making minimum wage, which I speak to a lot of parents, I talk to a lot of I am, but my minimum wage is much less than that because I have healthcare taken out. Uh, you're making essentially 28 grand a year without taxes taken out. What you should be spending on rent is 800 a month. But what the monthly rent in Massachusetts is almost $2,500 a month. So this is why we have an insane crisis, and this is why I'm starting every live stream I do off with this because the news isn't talking about this. They spin the headlines like you were talking about. It used to be a fifth to a fourth to a third of your salary on rent, and this is how they normalize it. So those are some of the things, the very important things. I'm not going to go into any healthcare stuff like that, but just so you know, there isn't a shortage of houses. There isn't a shortage of food, but somehow we have 1 in 5 kids going hungry every night. We have a lot of people experiencing homelessness or on the verge of it, and we have this abundance of food and shelter, and it's gate kept because a few people need to make a lot of profit. All right, so let's kick this off. The first news story, if you're into child labor, you're gonna love this, and I mean it. Yeah. I'm assuming if anybody's watching that's a Republican, they are foaming at the mouth. They're like, let me hear about these little kids getting back to work. If I haven't, have you been paying attention to any of the news clips and the news bites of these people talking about how great it is that kids are getting back to work? This one ass hat who I was going to look up his name and I said he's not worth it, but he was talking about how he had a job when he was young and it made all the difference in his life. I'm like, bud, 40 years ago, what you were getting paid would be the equivalent of like double what the minimum wage is now.
Right.
So these supporters of child labor, very weird to say, are excited. And what it turns out is it's not just here in America. Do you buy Lindt chocolate?
I've had Lindt chocolate, and I just got back from Switzerland, so yes.
Oh my God, you did. Is that like a big thing? I always wonder this because if I have to choose to buy a chocolate when I'm out at the store, right?
Mhm.
I can't eat Hershey's. Hershey's tastes like a turd. It
I'll
is the
eat
worst.
Hershey's all day long.
I think
I
it's
mean, I
such an
would.
American thing. Really? Well,
It's
the friends and kids I grew up with that were maybe from different parts of the world would agree with me, but it seemed like most of my American friends didn't mind Hershey's chocolate. Something there's like a very gasoline chemically taste to it.
I mean, Ghirardelli, Lindt, Hershey's, like, I kinda grew up with all of those, like, being
Okay.
from California and traveling quite a bit,
Yeah.
like, I know of those, but, yeah, I mean,
If you
I've
had to choose one out of the three, Ghirardelli, Lindt, and Hershey's.
ah, I'll
The
say
fact that
Ghirardelli.
that's so
I'll say
crazy to
Ghir I'll say it's
you'll
Ghirardelli.
say you'll say
Yeah.
Ghirardelli is by far the best tasting out of those, right?
Oh, okay. I've seen how they make it, so I appreciate it more, I think, but,
How do they
like,
make it? Do they squish
Ghirardelli?
unicorns to
Have you
make them
been to the
poop it
fact
out?
have you ever heard about the factory in, or one of the shops that they have in, like, Chicago? There's another one, I think,
Oh,
out of New York, where they show
that's
you how they make it. It's really
they have the
interesting.
little people that are green. They go oompa,
No,
oompa, oompa. I
no,
seen a
not that
documentary.
place.
I think it
Oh,
was
okay, okay.
Johnny Depp runs the place. He's a little boop,
I
boop.
thought it was Gene Siskel, Gene Hackman,
Wilder.
Gene
Wild.
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Gilda
Well, and
Radner
then
guy. Anyway,
he gave the key to Johnny Depp because he said you are unselfish. They were in a hot air balloon, and
that's what
that's
it
how Johnny
was.
Depp. Yeah, he inherited it, and then Amber Heard happened, so I think they removed him as CEO. I think
I said good day, sir.
no, I haven't. So wait, is it like how they had do you remember when Krispy Kreme started spreading across the country? And Krispy Kreme's big thing was like, you can watch them make the donuts. My buddy in college forced me to go to travel by the T to the Prudential Center to see donuts being made. He was like, we gotta go. We've only had Dunkin' Donuts here. So he was losing his mind that Krispy Kreme would like let you watch donuts being made. I was like, are you kidding? Like I
I
gotta,
mean,
I'm an
that
alcoholic.
guy,
I need
the
to go
Krispy
drink.
Kreme guy, went to Subway and was like, "This is what we're missing.
This
This
is
is
it.
where we're not selling the donuts, people." All right, get off of that topic. Moving along. We got a very short amount of time.
So this well, if you were like I was a supporter of Lint, this may change your mind. They have been caught. I want to say, well, yeah, I guess caught is the right word. Having children workers in their Ghana um, farms. I don't know what you would call. I'm trying to look for the name. Yeah, I guess they're just farms. The cocoa farms. And over the course of 8,000 visits, they discovered 87 child workers. And that is,
Wait, out of 8,000 visits, that's a lot of visits.
well, that is what the company. So this is the catch with these things, just like Starbucks. Okay. Remember, we talked about the Starbucks. There was a
Yes.
report out of Reporter Brazil that said Starbucks has child labor, slave labor, human trafficking, all to work their cocoa bean farms in South America. Um, which I brought up to one of my managers, and I don't think he was happy. He tried defending Starbucks. He said, "No, they're very adamant about that stuff." And I said, "Oh, their self-policing system." And he was like, "Yes, yes, yes."
Yes,
That's
yes,
what.
yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And I said, "Listen, you don't have to defend them to me. Like, I know it's part of your job, but let's be real. Um,
Yeah.
that out of 8,000 visits, 87 found was from the Lint self-policing system. So like the company has their own task force to ensure they're not employing children. And that they're
Hmm.
like, we found it. We found such a low number, by the way. So we're doing a great job of
Less
this.
than 1%. That's amazing. We're doing a good job.
So so they said this is or who was whoever swissinfo.ch said that is the 1 in 100 visits is laughable. They talked about one of the other leading producers of cocoa in West Africa recorded 53,000 children working for them.
Oh my god.
So again, the self-policing system they don't believe really um, is an honest one. It's like when
No.
the police get to investigate the police. And the biggest problem I think with this is goes back to what I talk about a lot is unionization, pushing for higher wages, because they talk about and this is might be just some, you know, easy easy reply, easy comment section fodder that, oh, well, kids in Africa, you know, have to work or they all have to work to help support the family. But the truth is if these Swiss chocolatiers just paid the parents enough, maybe the kids wouldn't have to be going to work with them. You know what I mean? Like kids should have to be in school. Look at what's happening here in America. They're putting kids to work. And why are kids ready to go to work? Because they need to help with the bills at the homes. Um,
Yep.
so hopefully this kind of stuff, and the reason I like to talk about this is because no, number one, the news isn't doing it, but number two, when you're putting your money where your mouth is, or your chocolate where your mouth is, and your money where the chocolate is, you should be wise to who you're supporting. And now Lint, I used to love buying Lint. It tastes much better than Hershey's, and at this point, it's only Ghirardelli for me now. Which, if I find out they're owned by Nestle, God help us all, because I'm not going to be able to buy chocolate anymore. Um,
You were talking about child labor laws.
yeah.
I was going to point out one thing. Where they have introduced, whether they were passed or not, at least one of these was passed, and I'll say which one. But in Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, they have tried getting rid of the labor laws concerning children so that they can work coal mines, so that they can work copper mines, so they can work. I mean, there's not really work for tobacco factories or for tobacco or cotton anymore. However, there are other textile things where people work out in the sun really long hours, and it's often families and families. So, in those states, they tried passing legislation. In Alabama and Mississippi, they passed them, and it looks like Louisiana is going to be the next to say, yes, kids can work in the swamps, kids can work in the plantations, kids can work in the mines, copper mines, coal mines, all of that. They're trying to also pass it in Arizona. The thing about that is, all six of those states have a federal, lower minimum wage than the federal wage requirement. So in all of the, meaning that there is no minimum wage. So in what is it? It looks like 12. Um, it is higher than the minimum wage. Massachusetts being one of them. Both coasts, basically, top coast on the east, all west coast, and Alaska and Florida higher minimum wage than the federal law requires. But there are two, Kansas and Ohio, that are lower than the federal minimum wage law requires, and they are the next two after that to try and incorporate child labor laws with no bottom limit. You could be a 9-year old working in any industry, is what they want. So,
Well, and you know
just
what we're
point that out
seeing?
again.
Well, so I don't know if everybody who watches this has seen the viral video of How old would you say that kid is? He can't be older than 12 or 13. He
Let's
looks
say 12.
honestly okay.
Let's say 12.
He kind of looks like a 10, 11 year old, and he's very articulate. So maybe someone will be like, I know him, he's 15 or whatever. But he's working the register at Burger King, and this lady put the video on TikTok, and it's devastating to see that because not only is this kid, being um I don't even know how to describe what he's doing because I've done that job. I do that job in a similar sense now, and it's mind numbing. It's really just like robots should be doing that work. Because you're just saying the same thing, doing the same thing over and over and over. And at that age, when your brain isn't formed, and it's
Fully
needing,
developed.
yeah, it needs to develop to think like how he's not in school, not focused on school, not focused on some kind of creative outlet, and just focused on getting a pat
Well,
on the
we
head.
don't know if he's not in school.
Well,
We
he's
don't
not in
know
school. No, no, no. He ain't in school if he's at work. That's what I mean. He might
if
be
he has
waking
a
up the next morning.
40-hour work week. I'm saying if he's working Friday after school, Saturday and Sunday, I don't know that. So I'm just saying I don't know.
Yeah, what I'm saying is he could be attending school, but when he's at work, he's not doing anything creative. You know what I mean? Like
I hear what you're
he's
saying.
doing that for a bare minimum wage. I'm guessing to help his parents or say people always say like, oh, those jobs are for kids because kids need whatever money, and I say they need way more money than that if he's going to go to college or do anything. I'm guessing they hope he doesn't go to college, but this is what these states are fighting for. They're fighting for kids to spend more of their time at dead end jobs. Right now, there's a lot of restrictions, like kids can't work a certain amount of hours a week. They can't work past a certain time on school nights. They're not allowed to open too early. And I know all this because I work with kids. There's two kids. No, no, no. Now one kid at my job. And I qualified that as someone under the age of 18. That's technically a kid, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if I can enter, I mean, even back then, I could enter the workforce in California at 15 and a half, 16 years old with no problems. Um, I would say under 16 is I mean, obviously to us, a 16-year-old is a child.
Yeah.
I'm saying I believe there is a context that is understanding that anybody under the age of 16 would have problems potentially, or at least under 15 would have problems with child labor laws.
So, and I want to get into more of this. We're gonna have to wait because I want to talk about one thing before you go, and I know we got 3 minutes. John Stewart is making a return, and I just want to touch upon that with you because it just broke. But before we jump into that, the biggest problem I have is you see all these violations, and I had the stats, and I'll tweet the stats. I think I already did about these companies that are breaking the law because the fines. I think a kid died the other day,
Oh
and
yeah,
the fine was like $15,000. So to
right.
a company, to a multi-billion company, and I say this a lot, if the punishment for a crime is a fine, it is illegal for the wealthy because $1 billion company, that's just the cost
Absolutely.
of doing
Yeah,
business. So,
absolutely.
and
If they
this
started
obviously,
making it if they started making it minimums based on worth or wealth or whatever. I mean, you can go back to Pfizer for the people who the Statler family, I believe, whatever they're called. They
Sackler.
Sackler family, thank you. If they've made over $10 billion and their first fine or their first settlement is for $130 million, and they made $1 billion in that year alone, what does it matter if you
They
charged
don't care.
them, if you punitively assessed and there wasn't a maximum and they said no, we're going to fine, you know, settle the lawsuit for $50 billion, what are they still going to do? They're going to spend arbitration. They're going to spend money on arbitration and lawyers to reduce it, and it just continues on and on. Delay, delay, delay. You see the same thing in the political realm. You see it all over the industry. So yes, a $15,000 fine for a child dying. Not to mention the insurance they already have on some of those workers to make money if they die doing the difficult work that they are doing. There's no loss. There's no loss to business, and there's
There's a
no
gain.
reason. Right? There's a net gain, so there's no reason for them to change anything. The laws aren't going to change because the politicians are bought off by those people.
No, hold on. And again, I didn't. I don't want to get too deep. Oh God, I want to get into this. They're changing some of the laws to try and hold
Hi,
them
Sarah
accountable.
Shoemaker.
Hello.
She ha our child labor thing. I
They
don't
are.
know.
I
I'm
mean,
sure
this
she
is
knows what she's
hilarious.
laughing at. Absolutely.
Um, so they are changing the laws to, but it's for wage theft. This is the frustrating part. So wage theft is a huge problem among companies. I've experienced it. I had a friend in radio who wasn't getting paid for advertisements he did for 2 years. They ended up owing him like 15 grand, and he couldn't get the check. Like that money
Yeah.
disappeared to the company. Funny, if they owed him, which at one point I owed the company, they will garnish your wage. They will not. You know what I mean? Like they will hunt you down. So concerning wage theft, they started uh, to put bills through. I think it was either Washington or Texas. Again, you can just Google this: wage theft and jail time for CEOs, and they were going to give
Mm,
CEOs jail time. And that's what I said. I said, how come other crimes, right? If you steal a loaf of bread because your family's starving, you're going to jail, and they hope that corrects the problem. But if you steal all your wages from your employees, you just get fined a little bit. So I say jail time for all these CEOs, all these corporations. Once we start putting the board away, I think we'll see some of this start to be fixed. But let's talk about John Oliver. John Stewart. They are one and the same to me because they're both brilliant. I
he's
want to
the
get a little.
happiest Jew in all of New York. Yay!
So he's coming back to the Daily Show, but it's only going to be for Mondays, and I think it's highly anticipated because it's an election year. Um,
That's the
Obviously,
draw.
I think he's both of our favorite, right? There's no one above him when it comes to Daily Show correspondence, hosts. He is the be all end all. He's the Carlin of the Daily Show.
He's the granddaddy. Yeah.
And I think you even called way back when, maybe when we started like 2 months ago, you were like, let's see how long his Apple show lasts. And I was like, it's going forever. And then like a day later, they were like canceled.
It was so flipping good though, the way he was able to drive some of it, but I was like, Apple's a political animal too, to a certain extent. And I mean, first and foremost, they're their own monopoly, as it were. Um, so I was just curious as to how long it was going to be when he's like just decimating these secretaries of interior and finance and um,
Larry Summers.
yeah,
Oh,
Betsy
I loved
DeVos
when he
type
took
of
him out.
people. I mean,
Yeah.
just education, gun reform. I mean, um, he had it all right, of course. And then he knew it so well when they came up with their bullshit that they would say to anybody else. He was like, "Well, we both know that's not true. So
Yeah.
why don't you, address that?" And they're like, "No, it's true, right? It's true. You know what? I gotta go."
Yeah.
The people who
Some of the
thought they were smart enough to get one over on Jon Stewart, that was just the the
well,
sousson
because
of mwah, that I just
the
loved about
je ne
his
sais
show.
quoi. Well, because he did what every other cable, nightly, internet. No, not internet, but almost every other host does. They ask a
Now,
question. Larry Summers says, "Oh no, it's because of this," or he gives some bullshit excuse, and nobody says like, "Well, you crashed the economy in 2008," or no one says, "Well, we know that's not true." Like what you're saying about inflation is this. No one does that, and John was the only one that called him out. And if anything, a lot of like the Fox Newses would placate him, and they would go, "Oh yes, of course, okay, yes,
of
of course you're
course,
right.
yeah,
Why would we need to fact check anything?" That's why Trump loves Fox News. So with
but not
John
Chris Wallace and not Brett Baer and some other people who did push back in little ways. But I hear you.
un pequeño ways, I think that means
Hmm.
small. A pequeño,
That
pequeño,
that's
whatever.
Spanish for goose.
That is in goose ways. So he's made a return, and they've had like what months and months of interim hosts. They
Yeah.
had like it's been cool seeing Sarah
Common, Sarah
Silverman.
Silverman. I mean, you can name 10 others. I can't think, but Michelle Wolf, I think, did it more than a
Yeah,
few.
well, they had a lot of the correspondents sitting in, and I don't know if you saw John Oliver did an interview when the news had broke, and John Oliver was in an interview, so he learned, on air,
Oh,
and
real time?
yeah, real time. Again, we're short on time, so I'm not going to go into the whole story, but essentially his answer was what it was so perfect. Again, I love John Oliver. Watch his show last week tonight with John Oliver. It's on HBO. And he said, that's great. I kind of see why it's an election year. He called him the Michael Jordan of
Hmm.
this, which he is. And then he said, I don't think it was the right decision. I would have gone with a Roy Wood Jr. or I think he said Michelle Wolf. And he essentially pressed for one of the up and comers to be the next one, which,
Neither one of those people are up and comers, but I hear you. I mean,
you
Trevor
know what I
Noah
mean?
was the up and comer. He
That's
was the
true.
up
That's
and
true.
comer.
Roy Wood Jr. is established. He is effing
Totally.
hilarious.
Yeah.
One of the greatest correspondents. And that's what John Oliver was saying. Like, I would have went in that direction. I don't know why they did this. Or he understands why the
Sure.
popularity. It's again what I try to say all the time. It's like Chris Pratt doing Mario, Garfield, uh what he does a ton of things. I don't even know what else. But Chris Pratt doing all these characters amidst him having zero range. He's just Chris Pratt. That's it. He's
Yeah.
not like, you know, like
He is the he is the Jim Carrey of our day.
yes, 100%. Just less funny. Much, much less
Agreed.
funnier.
Agreed.
Um, in fact, I don't think he's funny at all. I think his persona is just goofy, like not know it all.
I would
So
say he's actually more like a Chandler Bing from Friends where it's just this character and that's all you're gonna get no matter where you put him else. That's him. Since
I
Parks
think
and Rec, that's just who he is now. That's who he was in Jurassic Park, so on and so forth. Did Tomorrow War, same Chris Pratt character.
I think he's the Matthew McConaughey of now, even though Matthew McConaughey is still
Oh,
here.
back then you mean. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can
Well,
do that.
what you think Matthew McConaughey has range now because he played like that the what was it called, the Dallas AIDS Club or whatever? I forget. I
Dallas
forget what it's called.
Buyers Club.
Yeah, what were they
Come
buying
on, he
AIDS?
was
I
good
don't
in
even know.
that. Yes, they were buying AIDS. He was great in that. He was great in Interstellar. If you didn't see the True Detective stuff with him and Woody Harrelson, you are
No,
missing out, bro. That was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
but
Period.
hold on, was he really great or was he Matthew McConaughey
No, he
as
wasn't. No, he was really fucking good
now?
in
Now
True
I'm gonna have to
Detective.
watch it so I can argue
Dude,
this point.
I don't watch more than one episode because I don't want to hear the, oh, he's just doing the same old, all right, all right. He's not doing that. Like, there's a reason
But
that Jim Carrey, back to Jim Carrey, full circle, Jim Carrey covered him in a Lincoln car commercial on Saturday Night Live where he's like, what if I just roll this booger in my hand? Like, he's doing, because anyway, just watch all of that. You'll get it. But he was fantastic in that, and he was great
you,
in Interstellar, like I said.
listen, I love Interstellar, one of my top movies, top 20, let's say, because he's not making the top 10. But
No,
if at some point when he was pushing the spoiler alert, pushing the books out of the bookcase, right? And he had said, all right, all right, all right, or spelt out, all right, all right, all right. I would have not have put it past that fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like
I don't
he
know.
still was dazed and confused guy. Just, it was almost like he was just the dad now.
Yeah,
And
I
he
get it.
was
I
saying,
get what you're saying.
so I think so.
Whatever.
Anyways, Chris Pratt is the Matthew McConaughey because he's just Chris Pratt. He's just that lovable, goofy Chris Pratt as Mario, as Garfield, as whatever it is, Wile E. Coyote, whatever else they picked him as.
I hope that we see him in a movie and that he is so good that people are like he has to have an Oscar, like a Joaquin Phoenix type, or it'll never be that. Let's be real. He's not a um, method actor. He never
No,
will be. So
that was
anyway,
so. I know we talked about because I know you're gonna go. And we talked about this privately, and you just brought up the Oscars. I wish I had the setup because that was really what triggered me to want to even more do a live stream react. I think it would be hilarious to watch the Oscars live, especially, I mean, God, if we had done it last year with the Chris Rock slap, but to do that live on YouTube, to have a little screen in the corner of the Oscars and just doing commentary would be so
Ooh,
great.
that's a good. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's
I've
try
been
that.
looking into it. I don't know if I'll be able to set it up with this, but I'm gonna keep
Oh,
looking into
right.
it. You know what I mean? So
We'll
what I
figure out
guess
something. We'll
we'll
figure
figure
out
out
something.
something. That's just for the future. I know you gotta go, so thank you for your time. We will hit listen, all this stuff really has legs because there's more to talk about with so many of these stories.
I'm gonna ask you. Okay, I'm gonna cut you off, and I'm gonna ask you questions, and I just want you to give me a serious answer as best you could think it. I'll go quickly. Try and keep it to one or two sentences. I've always wanted to know because you're you and you have background in radio and all this stuff. And you're pretty creative. Like, where do you get
Very
your
much.
ideas from?
Um, honestly, driving. Uh, that's where I get all my ideas. And that's why you don't see any of my greatest ideas because I'm driving. And that's
Same
the
thing
most
for me, except mine's
it-
the shower. Mine's the shower.
really?
What? Yeah. What's your favorite place to eat?
Uh, that's hard because I don't know if you know this. I don't have money. So usually I'd say my kitchen.
Okay, good. If you were in a job interview, what would be the best question to ask them?
Oh, how much are you paying? Because I want to go out to dinner. I'm sick of eating in my kitchen.
That's a great answer.
That's a
If you
great
had a
question.
if you had $1 million, would you give it all to charity or spend it on crazy stuff?
What charity? D- You have to specify. Because if it's
Near
like the Salvation Army,
Neurofibromatosis Incorporated.
oh, that is a good one. Mm, crazy stuff. I would just spend it all on one Disney vacation.
Oh, good. Yeah, you could do that. Give me your best impression. It has to be 1 to 3 words. Okay. Give me your best impression of an Australian.
Oh, g'day, governor. Put
Uh,
let's
best
let's have
impression,
some tea. You call that a knife? Oh, that's it. That's not a knife. What
knife,
else?
not knife, knife.
Do you know that movie, Crocodile?
Crocodile
Uh,
Dundee.
yeah. When he goes,
Yeah.
he's in New York. Crocodile Dundee too. He goes, "It's not a knife," and then he
No,
says
because
something
he.
else.
That's the first one when he goes. Oh wait, no, you're right. It is Crocodile Dundee in New York.
The
Okay.
first
Anyway,
one, the lady goes to and he
Australia.
kills
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Good
Give me your best
movies.
impression of a New Yorker since you did that.
Oh, gotta think on my aunt's talk. Uh, get some coffee. I can't do it because I'm doing. Listen, if you ask me Australian first, everything's gonna be Australian. My
Great.
brain has a
Here
glitch.
comes the next one. Okay, someone from the South, the American South.
Oh, durr. I love the Confederate flag. Did you know it was a battle flag? Durr, durr. I love being a traitor. I think my
I love,
cousin's cute. Durr. Yeah,
I
that's
love
my
how
one
you
from
went
the south.
South Park for that. By the way, everybody, if you didn't get it from the ridiculousness of these questions, I'm totally joking. These are the worst questions
He's
ever.
not. This is no, this is how he interviews. Go to at amplethought.com or whatever it is on YouTube. And then
Okay.
oh my god, hold on. Time out, time out. If you don't do it, tell me. We should, you know how there's like, if you search on YouTube, there's people who will help you like through job interviews. And I did one that I made one because Target, if you go to apply for a job at Target, they have you go online and film your answers. So they
Oh,
give
I
you the
did see
question.
that. I saw that.
So, so I made a video on that. It's kind of, well, they were my honest answers, but I was being a sarcastic wise ass in all of them. And I was like, really fucking playing to the camera. But if you just Google like job interview help, there's all these gurus on YouTube that you should do a video where you're like, here are, the most popular questions and just do this. Be like, where do you get your ideas from? And then be like, you should answer like this.
Right.
Ideas are deep. Like, and if you don't do that, tell me, because that's fucking brilliant. And be serious
Okay.
the whole time and never tell them that it's a joke.
Okay.
I know you got to
Here
go. So,
I
but
do, and here's your last question. Um, Give me your best impression of the Prophet Muhammad.
hmm, Prophet Muhammad. Let's see. I don't know a lot of his work. I think he would go Durr. I love the Confederate flag. Durr. Of course he clicked off. I don't know why he clicked off. I'll do the Prophet Muhammad. What was he into? He was like really into, I think, child brides. I think that was his big thing. And listen, that ain't me saying it. All right, go check your history books. Uh, that's a young religion too. If people don't know, I hope Brendan comes back on and watches this. Uh, all right. I know there's a couple people in here. I think I might have lost him with the Prophet Muhammad. Maybe there's some big fans. I don't know. If he asked me to do Jesus Christ, I'd be like, oh, don't kill me. Don't kill me. All right. All right. Um, oh, you couldn't see. I was putting my arms up like a cross. Uh, Maybe that will be the next question. But I think you should be able to make fun of all these people. In fact, I think that's the point of religion, guys. I think that's really it. That like it needs to be made fun of. You don't think Jesus saw some humor in all the stuff that was going on? Uh, but what I was going to say is, I'm going to have. He was trying to be funny by leaving, but this was a serious bit, and I think that should be in the how to get a job interview. If they ask you about religion, and then you should go through each one. Do a Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Abraham. Would that be the other one? I think that would be all. And you cover them all. I think that would be hilarious, and you do it serious. In fact, you need to let me know at Ample Thought. You can go follow him. He's in the comments right now. If you're not going to do that job interview question video, job guru video, I think I might just do it. You got to come up with some good ones. But there's a lot of people out there looking for work and trying to get these jobs. And I'll tell you what, don't be serious and any it, because ask them. That's what I ask. How much you paying? A lot of people are like, I can't afford you. I'm like, oh, what do you pay? $5 an hour? Jesus, they do. But what I was going to say is, I'm going to hang up. I think that's how a live stream ends. I'm not sure. And then I'm going to come back on in, what time is it? In about 10 minutes, because I want to bring somebody else on to do some fun stuff. A quick hello. In fact, I think tomorrow night is going to be the bigger live stream, but I have a friend who would do some cool astrology. I don't know if you're into that or not, but hang tight. And if you're watching this not live, then watch the next video and make sure you subscribe, because why are you watching this and not being subscribed? Is it not funny? Do you not hate me enough? Is that it? Do you need to hate me to subscribe? Because I could be more of a jackass. All right. Uh, Thanks for checking it out. I don't know how to hang up. Again, how do you? Oh, you just end the live stream, not hang up. I'm showing my age.